Hello, Professor. In these slides, I will explain the difficulty of South Africa and the struggle of getting a successful educational system. First, we'll start off with the three main things, which is the international tests that they always, every year, perform very poorly on them. It's TIMS, which is a focus on math and science, PROS, which is a focus on English and writing and also literature, and SACMEC, which is just the focus of both TIMS and PROS so they could see if there's any improvement in their studies, which there has not been. And almost every possible year that they perform, they always perform very badly. And here I will explain the problems of the schools that they have, which is the lack of books, the classes being too large, which leads to students not being able to focus or being able to understand what's going on. Next is also the fees being too high. It is very expensive to be able to get a education in Africa, and that is why kids are not able to uh, go to get a higher education because they don't have the funds for it, and they just can't afford it. It's just too expensive. And the main problem is also the lack of teachers. The lack of teachers is 1.6% of them not being there. And the thing is of the lack of teachers is that they're not getting paid well enough, or they just think that they're not being treated fairly, which leads to them striking, and it also leads to them being absent more. Teachers being absent and teachers not even and already having a low number in teachers is a big struggle in South Africa. Also, some teachers do not know how to teach the youth. Their poor quality of teaching is informing the students incorrectly and making their successful rate lower every year by giving them the wrong intel on what to study and how to study. In the end of the day, South Africa struggles a lot in education, and these are the main reasons why they struggle. But if I'm being honest, for me, they need to focus more on the quality of teachers they have been getting. So if they invest on the quality of teachers instead of investing on education itself, they'll be able to get a higher GDP offer, which would be higher than 6%. In the end, there might be more better performance in the end, because right now there is no type of good improvement or type of good positive outcome in South Africa and their educational system. Next, here I will be telling you the consolidated basic education expenditure, which is pretty much the gross domestic product throughout the years and how much they've been getting, which is usually between 4.9 through 5%, which leads to 16.8 the highest to 16 the lowest. And every year, it's not like South Africa isn't getting money for education, they are. But maybe it is not distributed correctly, or they're just not investing it the proper way where they could be able to get a better outcome in the results. Right now, um, they get about 6% of GDP, and compared to other nations in Europe, they get about 4.8, and their more successful rate are higher than South Africa's, which is pretty impressive if you only have a 4.8% GDP in countries. Now, here in this slide, I will focus more on the adults, the young adults that South Africa have. In South Africa, the ages between 18 and 24, there is a 51% of students who do not go to college because it's the lack of money. And the lack of money is the main reason why students don't go to school. I would tell you why. Not having money and being able to afford this tuition cost is expensive. This tuition cost in 2018 costs over $500,000. That is even more expensive to get an education here in the United States. And for me, that is unfair because the government is giving no chance and no opportunity for the African adults, young adults, to get any type of education. They're pretty much just kind of stuck and struggled their way into just the working class. And it's even hard to be in the working class in South Africa because of their poverty rate. But as we can see here, throughout every year, it has been getting more and more expensive just to get education in South Africa, a higher education in South Africa. And not only that, that is for a public institution, not even private. And as you can see in this map, we could see other countries within South Africa, which is just the Northern Cape, the Free State, the Northwest, the Limpopo, and the highest percentage here is the Free State, which is 67% of individuals do not go to higher institution because of the lack of money and funds. Or you could just say the unfairness and the high tuition fee that the African schools provide for them, and that's the only choice they have. That they cannot afford to go to school, which is very disappointing because many students want to go to school and not having the opportunity to do that. It's very hard because your limitation to be successful is already hard enough, even living in South Africa. Now, in this graph here, it shows us the age level of the age level of the students and where they at in their education in one sense. So, for instance, here we see at the age of 5 that 30% of students were in preschool and 15% of students were not in education at all, while a good 54% of students were in primary. Now, as you can see here, more and more students ended up going to primary till the age of 12 years old, where it makes a little more of a difference. At the age of 12, it went from 91% to 54% from 90 to the age of 12 to the age of 13, which is a really good thing because they ended up going to secondary school. But as we see here, that is not a good age to be leaving primary school. Now, after the age of 13, we see the increase in secondary school, but we also see the increase in people not in education. Kids not being in education started increasing by the age of 16, which was of 4.6%. Or you could just say the age of 17, where it's the 10%. So by the age of 17, 10% of students were now able to go to education. It could be because of the fees being too high, or it was just because of the situation they were in, or they just wanted to go to work instead. It could be many scenarios. But as we can see here, by the age of 19, 45% of kids were not in school. That means that at the age of 19, 45% were not able to go to any type of school, and 41% stayed in a secondary school. Now, that means that only 6.4% of students were able to go to a university, and that is a very, very low number at the age of 19. As we see here, at the age of 19, 6.4, it got higher till the age of 20. After that, it started going lower and lower and lower. As we can see here, also by the age of 17, it started getting higher and higher when the people decided not to go to school as well. As we see this chart, it was from General Household Survey in 2018. We see the probability and the numbers of students going to school, not going to school, and it shows here us that many students don't have that opportunity to go to university because of the situation they're living in, which is South Africa. Now, This is the end of the numbers I have for the presentation, and here are the sources I use uh, for all the graphs that I use for this PowerPoint. I hope you enjoy, and thank you.